If the U.S. mainland can boast an economic recovery, it's a different story for Americans on the island of Puerto Rico. The Commonwealth's going through a prolonged recession made all the worse by a government debt crisis. A new plan by a financial oversight board calls for severe spending cuts in areas such as education, health, and pensions. In response, a coalition of local activists recently called for a different strategy. We'd like to welcome one member of the coalition, the director of the commercial division from 32BJ SEIU, Otoniel Figueroa. Thank you very much for being with us, Otoniel.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
Otoniel, you have family, relatives in Puerto Rico. What have they been telling you about how things are going?
Yes, I have one sister there, and my father is there, and friends, obviously. And I think that with the information that I've been getting is a concern, and every day you see the changes in terms of business closing and the impact of people preparing to have to take this difficult situation of leaving the island, leaving the place that they have grown and they have loved for so long. But the situation is so complicated and bad that people, don't have any other option.
Now, of course, if the government is sort of, hovering close to bankruptcy down there right now, what does that mean for the rest of the economy in terms of, regular jobs outside the government?
There has an impact, right? Because I think that to give you an example and to give you a bit of background, if you may allow me, Puerto Rico has a political relationship with the United States for over 100 years. Puerto Rico had enjoyed a relative prosperity for decades comparing to some of the countries in Latin America. But that political arrangement of Puerto Rico with the United States came it started to decline, or in terms of our quality of life, when in 1996 Congress passed a legislation to eliminate some tax breaks that some U.S. companies based here with production manufacturing in Puerto Rico, mainly pharmaceutical, they were enjoying tax breaks in their profits. In 1996, Congress passed that law, and it's a phase-out law that says that in 10 years, that tax break is going to end. So 1996 passed the law, Congress passed the law, and in 2006, all these companies are out. They were providing good jobs, but they were providing some benefits to our community. These companies are out. In 2006, you see the recession starting for Puerto Rico.
And on the other hand, our government, our federal government, allowed, at least made it easier for the government in Puerto Rico to issue debt. And I guess that created some strange incentives,
So no, that's a good point. When 2006 comes, the recession starts. So the tax break shrinks in Puerto Rico. So the government is forced to go to the market to borrow money. And now that's the moment when hedge funds and vulture funds, what we call vulture funds, go into the mix and start surrounding Puerto Rico, promoting these financial products, right? And Puerto Rico starts to borrow money and a high interest rates. And you see year from now, in 2006, probably it was close to $40-something billion, the public debt. And in 2014, it goes up to $72 billion. So in a matter of less than 10 years, it almost doubled the public debt. And it was Wall Street who identified Puerto Rico like the same way they identified Greece and Argentina in the 90s as a target to come and lend money at those high interest rates.
This is BNN News, and we're talking with Otoniel Figueroa from 32BJ SEIU. Of course, one of the things right now, Otoniel, is that you have people on the island who need access to, just like everybody else in the United States, they need access to health care, they need education for their kids, and they're worried about their pensions. What's going to happen?
So we're very concerned. We're very concerned. That's why we were there on Monday. We were in Newton having a rally. The coalition that I'm part of, Alianza for Puerto Rico and Vamos for Puerto Rico, we call on the community and Latino leaders and Puerto Rican leaders like Damali Vidot, City Councilor for Chelsea, and others were there because there's something happening in Newton. Carlos Garcia is one of the members of the Fiscal Control Board, the Oversight Board, that is in charge of the finances in Puerto Rico. Carlos Garcia has a private equity bank in Newton. It's called Bay Boston. But the interesting story of Carlos Garcia is that he was a high-level official of the Santander Bank. Santander Bank started to devise these financial loans and start to lure Puerto Rico to borrow money from them. They got probably $9 billion in debt. After finishing with Santander, Carlos Garcia moved to lead the Puerto Rico Economic Development Bank. There, as a former official of Santander, he started also to issue bonds, most of them or some of them underwritten by Santander. So he finished this participation in the Puerto Rico Development Bank, and then he moved to Newton. He established the private equity, but that's not the problem. The problem is that he is part of the Fiscal Control Board, and we also, something that he did not disclose when President Obama appointed him to the Control Board, is that he also owns Caribbean Financial Group. Caribbean Financial Group is a personal loan bank in Puerto Rico that we in Puerto Rico know them as Como Loco. So we have Carlos Garcia promoting austerity measures from the Fiscal Control Board, impoverishing the island. People desperate for money, what do? They go to Como Loco, Carlos Garcia personal loan mini bank, and they owe money. They borrow money. They borrow money at 25% interest, some cases 43% interest. So for us, we were there on Monday because it's clear the pattern of Carlos Garcia. He's profiting from the misery of Puerto Ricans, and we call Carlos Garcia to step down, to resign from the Fiscal Control Board because it's a clear conflict of interest.
Well, of course, the policy of austerity that the board is pursuing, it does save money, but it can also stifle economic growth. So how do you get growth going again in Puerto Rico?
And that's a great question, Chris, because we've been concerned about that. One of the things that we thought that the Fiscal Control was going to do was to implement economic policy that will foster consumption and demands, and will move will have economic activity, but that doesn't have been their focus. Their focus has been only in the austerity side. So like you said before, they've been closing or pushing the government to close hospitals, to close schools, to sell those buildings too. So we have children without schools, moving to other schools, crowding the education process in the rooms, so difficult for teachers, the unemployment running higher than ever before. So we have a body, unelected body, that Congress imposed in Puerto Rico, that people at the beginning thought that they were going to be fostering economic development. That hasn't happened. So that's why we call the Fiscal Control Board a big collection agency for Wall Street. That's basically what they're doing. They're identifying the funds so they can pay the debt, but Puerto Rico the Puerto Rico life is declining quickly, and that's why we were there on Monday, because we think that Carlos Garcia has a lot to do with that.
Well, one other solution here: Puerto Ricans hold American citizenship, so if they can't find a job in the island, they can come to the mainland. Is that always such a bad thing?
I think that right, we are Americans in the sense that we have a relationship with this country. We have American citizens, although people like me have a thick accent, but yes, we are American citizens. And I think that there's an escape. There's a window there for us to move here, but the people who are watching your program have to understand too that this is going to impact budgets, local budgets here in Massachusetts, right? Some of my families and friends are ending up in Rhode Island, in Holyoke, in Springfield. We don't want to leave our island, but we are desperate. We need to do it, and we are going to look for jobs, and we're going to look for services here. So yes, we have a way to escape from the misery. But we're calling the Fiscal Control Board to stop the austerity measures because we want to stay there. We want to stay in our island, but right now, Carlos Garcia and the Fiscal Control Board is now allowing us to do that.
Well, it's pretty clear people in Puerto Rico need the recovery. But what about the rest of us here in the mainland, including all these pension funds in this country that are invested in government debt from Puerto Rico? I guess they need this recovery too.
And that's a point that we've been in the public message that we have had. That we've been mentioning consistently that besides the problem with the public debt, there's an underfunding liability issue with the pension. Right, the Fiscal Control Board forced the government to make a cut of 10% to pensioners in Puerto Rico. So retired teachers and other public servants are going to see their steady monthly income decline by 10% because the Fiscal Control Board is pushing the government to that. So yes, I mean, there's going to be impact. The funds of union employees here that have investment in Puerto Rico, they're going to take a hit too. So this is it's affecting a lot of people. So I think that's why we're trying to call the attention. This is not like some hedge funds and Wall Street have tried to portray it, that this is that Puerto Rico didn't do their homework and Puerto Rico didn't operate their finances right. Is that there were some banks, right, that took advantage of the misery of the economic problems of Puerto Rico, and now we are in a down spiral that we don't know when it's going to end.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Chris.
Otoniel Figueroa from 32BJ SEIU. We'll have more news in just a moment.